The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the Our Culture, Our Stories podcast are those of the individual hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policies or positions of the NAACP or any affiliated organizations.
When I start a show, we prayed about just being able to be what was necessary in the moment, to be a reflection of the light and love that has been shown to us in our lives. Wow. Those might have been words that my grandmother uttered as she was holding me, as she was dying, I was being born. I think people feel that. Ooh-wee. Baby. It's real, ain't it?
Scott Evans, Access Hollywood, house guest.
Now let's get it.
Man, it's so good to have you here.
It's so good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I know it took a little bit to get here.
Baby, the way this traffic is set up at 2025 is a doozy.
Yeah.
It took 6 weeks and 2 passports to get here, and I live in Los Angeles. So, you know, thank you everybody for who helped pack me a tasty snack to get on the way. But we are here. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Well, we're glad you're here, man.
Yeah.
The 56th annual NAACP Image Awards.
Man.
56.
It was something. Wasn't it something?
Man, it was incredible.
It was incredible. It was one of the best shows I have seen in some time. It felt big. It felt timely. It felt urgent. You and I have talked about the fact that, the Image Awards is a celebration of art and culture and the people who make it go, right? But that the NAACP is not just an award show. That it's the work that goes in day in and day out. Those people, the unsung heroes who have made sure that our position in culture, in society, is what it is. You know what I mean? And so to see a celebration that I would imagine that when this organization started, let alone when the awards show started, that when this organization started, wouldn't have been able to necessarily dream of seeing the impact quite the way that it has grown.
That's real.
So yeah, man, it was unreal. The weigh-ins, to see that family on that stage, to get that love and to hear those stories, no draws and all. When they cut to the audience, they were like, "Did he just say he was in the club with just jeans on?" Yeah. I mean, it was just, but it's that kind of unfiltered, true, even sense of humor. In our sense of humor, in a collective understanding that makes it so special.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it, but I want to get your take on what do you say to people who don't get it, who don't understand why something like the NAACP Image Awards is even necessary.
Yeah.
Some people feel that we're in 2025 and we've arrived and it's no longer necessary. Now we're a part of other award shows. What do you say to that mentality?
I would imagine that I would say internally I would wonder how delulu they really are. That in a time like this where you're seeing DEI programs become outlawed, almost illegal in practice, that the idea of inviting and ensuring that there are as many people from as many backgrounds who deserve to be in the spot, because that's also want to be clear, who deserve to be in the spot, but who otherwise would go overlooked or disregarded or dismissed. If you are of the mind that we don't need, it's 2025.
Some people feel. I've talked to some of these people. They feel we had a black president. You had a black president. Y'all had a black president.
Okay, so I mean, here's what I would say. And to be totally honest, I'm not interested in conversations with. I'm not interested in convincing. I'm no longer interested in educating. I am no longer interested in arguing. If you don't get it by now, Bet. If you don't get it by now, there's nothing that I'm going to be able to say to you.
Right.
There's no 1 or 2 conversations that's going to be able to convince you.
Or 10 or 15.
Exactly. So either get out of my way or allow me to help you get out of my way. Like I think we've reached a point where if we are still trying to consider how to bring someone else along, how to get I don't have the energy and I don't have the time and I to be honest with you, I really don't have the interest any further in trying to convince people who are unwilling to expand, who are unwilling to be convinced. So if we're entering that conversation and it's with someone who has a thirst for more knowledge, who is
That's
seeking
different.
seeking to be better, greater than they were yesterday, that's one
That's
thing.
different, yeah.
But someone who, if you're saying to me, well, I mean, I had a black president? No, the nation.
Yeah.
The nation.
Facts.
So
Facts.
if that's how the conversation starts, you've told me everything I need to know, which is I'm gonna go ahead on by my day,
Have a nice day.
or don't.
Yeah. Or don't. Yeah.
Baby, that ain't my responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, what did Tabitha Brown say? You go and you have a good day, but if you can't, don't you go messing up nobody else's.
That's it. Yeah.
I'm gonna do my very best.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. So back to the show. Let's talk about the honors which you presented.
Yeah.
You were a presenter. You and
With Lonnie
Love.
Love. Baby, we cut up.
I was there. I was there.
We
and
cut up.
And there are moments in, I think, every award show that, or every ceremony centered around the award show, that people instantly remember.
Yeah.
And one of those moments for me and my team was you and Lonnie Love.
They said dance out. They said, imagine it's a Soul Train line. What would you do? And so
And that's what you and Lonnie did. And it was in sync.
and when Lil Rel came out with his chest all out, she said, why don't you got your chest out? I said, I don't really have that to be putting out. She said, look at all that. She said, look at all that taco meat. I said, I don't have no taco meat. What I got is on saute. Ain't nothing cooking over here, you know what I mean? So when we went out, she was like, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, but it is.
Yeah. We had her on the show, too.
She is the best.
She is
the
best.
best. And she's constantly thinking about how you take something from here and you bring it here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I've been able to either host an award show or present with her in a few other occasions, and she kills every single time. It's no wonder why calls on her to host the after party for the Oscars last night. You know, she is really an incredible talent.
She is,
and I've been watching her since.
And a sweetheart.
One of the sweetest.
Yeah, and a sweetheart.
I remember when she turned out. What was it? Chelsea Lately, the Chelsea Handler show on E. She would show up on that panel and light it up.
Yeah.
So when they told me that I was presenting with Lonnie, I was like, baby, we in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know who else shows up every time?
Uh-oh.
You.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. You. So going back to that night, the two of you come out and instantly the crowd goes wild and you're dancing and your synergy, it's just powerful. It's just, you both have that thing, right? And you can't teach somebody to have it. It's not something that somebody learns.
Yeah.
It's just something that somebody has. And you and she have that, and you had it together. But what are some of the other moments or some moments for you from that night that you think about and you go, wow, that was powerful? Some of the other moments. And then let's talk about the show that took place the next night.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So first, the fact that there is this what feels like a week of events, you know what I mean, centered around our contributions, our collective success, our striving to be better. Like it's unreal. The creative honors in particular, that carpet, is small, but it is mighty. You know what I mean? I remember we did. I was with Gia Peppers on the carpet, and we saw Jennifer Hudson, and it was one of those moments where, you know, as a multiple honoree, a multiple nominee, it was like, I don't know if you're gonna be able to stop her, because you know she got places to be, and so instead of
Another
trying
sweetheart.
incredible,
Sweetheart,
incredible. Instead of trying to get her to stop to do an interview, we were like, what if we could just infuse this space with something that felt familiar to her? And you know, that spirit hallway, that the walk out onto her show has become not only a viral moment, but like a fixture on social media.
Brilliant idea. Simple and brilliant.
But you know they're gonna be tired in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like, okay, who coming on the show today? Okay, Mufasa. you know. But they find new ways to keep it fresh and to keep it exciting and to have that experience. Because this was something they were doing before it was captured on social media.
Right.
You know, this was just something they would do to hype up their guests. And so, you know, I make the joke of like they're gonna be tired in 3 weeks, but they're really not, because they've been charged with really infusing that space with as much positive energy as possible. And so I looked at Gia and I was like, what? Let's just get her. And she was like, I know what it is. And so she came up with a chant, and we started doing it. And I think a producer of hers, friend of hers, of Gia's, captured the moment on camera or on, you know, for Instagram. And it was like, I remember her lighting up. I remember Jennifer Hudson lighting up. I think we said J Hud at the Image Awards, right? And it was like, seeing her face, she was like, oh, I know what this is.
I saw it.
I know what this is. You know, that for me was one of, and that was before the show even started.
Before the show even started.
So for her show to take home both of the big talk awards, I mean, what she's doing is like, the Ellen was doing this before she was doing this, you know, in this way, this format with many members of that team and format. So to see Jennifer Hudson stepping into that space and that lane, I don't know if you saw what she did with Cynthia Erivo, where they sang together music that they sang from The Color Purple on Broadway. You know, it's just the thing that I love about this time of the year, and in particular Creative Honors and the Image Awards with NAACP, is that it's like a reunion.
Yeah.
And so at a reunion, what you do is you recap all of the big moments from the last year, all of your favorite moments from years past. And so, yeah, like it's such a special night. It's such a special time. Yeah.
So the award show on Saturday night, Deion Cole.
Baby, when he prayed that prayer over Kirk Franklin and said, what did he say?
He said,
that twerk spirit.
He said, we don't want to see twerk Franklin.
Twerk Franklin.
He said, Lord, help him, deliver him from this twerk spirit.
Twerk spirit.
Yeah.
It is my hope. I know and I believe that Kirk Franklin has the kind of sense of humor.
He'll laugh.
Of course.
He'll laugh. Yeah. He's already laughed at it. I'm sure.
Was so. Yeah. Deion is so.
It was
funny.
So good. He was so good.
My goodness.
Yeah. Lettucey opened up the show.
So I was just with Lettucey at the Super Bowl, where she performed "Lift Every Voice and Sing," the Black National Anthem, on the field.
Chills.
Yeah.
Just talking about it gives you chills.
Exactly.
Yeah. And in the ACP Image Awards, it's like chills.
Chills.
Like it's like, whoa, what's going on
when
here?
When she walked out to begin singing for the NAACP, you kind of like snap out of your body for a little bit, right? Like it's kind of like this. Yeah. You see her and you're like, what is she about to do? And you try to run every variation of what she might do, and then she does something totally different. And so she is an incredible talent. The crazy part about it was talking to Cynthia Erivo about Lettucey, and she was like, the crazy part is that she makes what is very difficult to do technically as a singer look simple, effortless, easy. Look like you're not even trying. And so, yeah, man, like that to bless in that kind of way. Also, the theme of the night having this tie and focus on people who have experienced loss as a result of the Los Angeles wildfires, the LA wildfires, and Altadena in particular. It set the emotional tone for the night, and it allowed us to kind of all deepen our energy, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
It was the right balance of this and this and this and this. One of those rare moments where everything just
Clicks.
hits. Clicks.
Yeah, I mean, you the Entertainer Award, Entertainer of the Year Award with Keke Palmer had, you talk about balance, had the levity of the battle cry from Defying Gravity, from Wicked, but in that moment also you had the acknowledgement of her fellow nominees, in particular. I'm getting emotional. In particular, Keke seeing Cynthia and saying, "You kill every single role you do. Everything you do well. I didn't think I was gonna get this because I was in the category with you." And to see Cynthia as, I know, if there's anything this woman deserves at this point, it's a nap. Cynthia,
A long one.
I hope that she gets today. My
On
prayer
an
is
island
that
somewhere.
baby,
On an
with
island
some
somewhere.
water. So to be able to see that happen in real time, it is when you're accepting an award like Entertainer of the Year, it is easy to get on a stage and make it all about you.
Yeah, it's not what she did that night.
At all. She big upped her nominees. She big upped the support that she gets from people like the people who are in the audience, people who are watching. She reminded us that this is not just one night. We gotta remember this energy, this zeal, this perspective, this need. 365, and so.
And she talked about how. She said, "Y'all is who, when I did this movie,
y'all are who
and
made
went
it
to DVD.
That's why I went. It wasn't a big box office draw, and it was not. I wouldn't. She sometimes describes it as it not doing very well box office, and I think that there were some expectations because of Angela Bassett and Lawrence Fishburne with this new face, Keke Palmer. But when it came out, it is a classic.
Yeah.
It is a classic film. Yeah. It is a not just a classic black film. It is a classic film. And so, it is to see her on that stage show up the way that she does and did. It's just like there's no wonder why she's Entertainer of the Year. Yeah.
That part.
If you were wondering, baby, she let you know.
You saw it. Yeah. You like, oh, okay. If you didn't get it before.
Humor, heart, intelligence, beauty, charisma. She is the embodiment.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So overall, you would give the NAACP Image Awards on a scale from 1 to 10, the 56th annual, what would you give it?
Is this being recorded?
It is. Yeah, it is.
It's easy.
Yeah.
10.
10.
10. And I was going to say 9.
Yeah.
Only because there's next year and just a challenge to how do you big it, how do you up it, how do you up the ante next year? But honestly, it has been a really beautiful night and a really beautiful space, and I believe truly it gets better every single year. It gets better every single year. The broadcast gets better every single year. The categories, the people involved get better every single year. I will say the only thing that sometimes I am disappointed by is the fact that we don't all show up for it. And so
nominees,
when you are nominated and someone the presenter has to accept the award on the behalf of, I know we're all working, trying to stay working. But we make it to the Oscars. We make it to the Golden Globes. And, I think that there are a lot of things that have to happen in order for that to be the case, in order for us to make it. But I think I am seeing more and more a renewed effort and sincerity at making sure that we show up.
So what you're saying is, if I hear you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
what you're saying is that being honored by the NAACP Image Awards is just as important as any other award, and you should understand that. You should know that. You should know that by now.
It should feel feel as important to you as any other big award. And maybe even more so, because here in this group you are truly understood.
Yeah.
In this body you are truly appreciated. Your impact is not just felt, but it is necessary.
Yeah.
And I know that I am aware of all of the different variables that happen, that come up, that arise when it comes to putting your body in the space it needs to be in, right? But we do it for other things.
Yes, sir. Yes,
You
sir.
know?
How important is something like the NAACP Image Awards and the NAACP in general in the times we're currently in? If we could just veer to politics briefly.
Yeah. Well,
How
don't
important,
you
why is it necessary?
don't you
Why is
feel
it-
like now it is the organization is, and its efforts are more relevant than unfortunately, you would hope that the idea is that the hope is that this organization would become less and less necessary.
Yeah,
and that it would become like a legacy. It's just the award show.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Not necessary. Like we've moved on.
Yeah, we're
and
so far
good.
removed.
We're
Yeah,
doing really
now
yeah.
it's about preserving the history.
Yes, sir.
And unfortunately, we are still living the history.
Yes, sir.
And so I think the organization that puts on the award show, in partnership with many others, I think is just as important as it was the day it started.
Over 100 years ago.
Yeah, and so it just, I do believe that if you are not feeling that sense of urgency, if you are not feeling that prick or nudge to be doing more, to be asking more questions, to be more active, then you are probably not paying attention, or you are actively avoiding. And so, it is my thought process that we all have to get a little bit more active. We all have to get a little bit more involved. We all have to get a little bit more loud. Which is why when we started this conversation and you were like, "What would you say?" I was like, "I don't have time." What?
Yeah.
To say what?
Yeah.
I,
We're busy. We got.
what would I say? I would say bye. Move.
Yeah.
Get out of my way.
Yeah.
So but I don't mean that in any sort of perspective of like I'm not dismayed by that. I'm not discouraged.
And it
by
doesn't
that.
sound like you are.
Yeah, no. It's just
I ain't got time.
We got to get.
Yeah.
It's time to
Yeah.
get busy.
Yeah.
It's time to get busy. And
Yeah.
if you haven't been busy,
Yeah.
it's time to get there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about you a little bit. Let's talk about Scott Evans. You were born where?
New Jersey. Mm-hmm. Yeah, New Jersey.
I know that's what your bio says.
Yeah.
But sometimes, So you're born in New Jersey.
The story we tell ourselves.
Yeah. I was born in New Jersey.
I was born in Brazil. Brazil. No, New Jersey, babe.
New Jersey.
Yeah.
How often do you get home?
So home technically is where my mom is, right? So I grew up in Indianapolis, and so I get home. Unfortunately, I don't get there quite as much, once or twice a year. But she comes out to Los Angeles. You know what I mean? Because I remember when I lived.
What's her name? What's her first name?
Kelly.
Kelly.
Yep. When she came out the first couple of times I lived in L.A., she was like, I'll be honest, baby, I just don't really understand the appeal of L.A. Like the weather is not. Mom, it's great because it's winter time. She was like, yeah, I don't really know if I get it. But then I moved out west, closer to the hills and you really get a different feel for Los Angeles. And I remember she came to, I bought my first house, and she was walking through the house and she was like, pool, and I got a U driveway, right? Never. Me? In my life, I didn't imagine that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Not,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
she
beautiful.
walked in that house and she was like, I could get used to this. I was like, oh, we done changed our tune, huh?
Yeah.
So yeah, man. I mean, it is any opportunity to bless mom, and for her to see the fruit of her work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Raising me at 20, having me at 20 years
Yeah.
old.
How does the West, how does the growing up in the Midwest,
Yeah.
how did that shape Scott Evans, would you say?
I mean, I think that all of the like the typical adjectives of Midwestern people, right? Hardworking, trustworthy, dependable, salt of the earth kind of everyman kind of way of describing. I think that they all contributed to parts of or elements of my personality. Being born on the East Coast, having some element of that in my, some energy of that in my
DNA.
DNA.
Yeah.
So you take kind of the best of the East Coast and the Midwest, and
This is what you get. Voila! He's here. He's here.
Yeah, but I think also it's the drive. You're driven and disciplined from the Midwest. You're driven and from the East in a totally different way. And so to be able to marry those things, I think, in our efforts for House Guest and Access Hollywood, things that I do.
Well, let's talk about Access Hollywood and House Guest. You've been on Access Hollywood. It's been a decade.
It'll be 10 years this year.
It's been a decade.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Baby.
Do you remember the very first interview you did?
Absolutely.
Who was it with?
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I was working in Hard News at the time, Channel 1 News in New York City, anchoring a newscast that Lisa Ling, Maria Menounos, Anderson Cooper had famously anchored before me, and got a call from Rob Silverstein and Robin Radin, who were the one was the news director, the other was the EP of Access Hollywood, and they're like, we have an exclusive coming up. It was a Tuesday. We have an exclusive coming up, and we'd like to know if you're available to do it. And I was like, who is this? Playing on my phone. What? Who? What?
Wow.
I'm doing a story at that time. I was writing, I think, my news story that day. I think I was covering Boko Haram, the Bring Our Girls Back campaign, and a devastating story with a really tough arc when it comes to like how it started, what we covered in the middle of it, and how it ended. And so anything that was a break from that kind of felt like a soft.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I'll take
Yeah.
I'll take an interview, an exclusive. I was like, who is it with? They were like, Taylor Swift, and I was like, when is it?
Yeah.
They were like, in 2 days. I was like, you mean so this Thursday?
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be a 7-minute interview, and it ended up being a 22-minute interview.
Yeah.
And when we finished, she stood up and said, I don't know if I'm so sorry. And I was like, sorry about what? She was like, I've never done an interview like that. Did you get what you needed? I was just having so much fun talking to you. I knew. I was like,
something's here.
we're on to something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah. And
Good for
I've
you.
been working with them literally ever since.
Wow.
I was a guest correspondent, guest East Coast correspondent for 2 years. Then the East Coast, for a year. Then the East Coast correspondent. Then correspondent, senior correspondent, and now host.
We've watched you. Yeah, we've watched you. Why do you think people are so comfortable with you? What is it, do you think, that is? What is that?
I think I show up in a space that I believe that I show up to a space in a way that invites them to be more themselves because I am also showing
Yourself.
up
Authentically.
Yeah, like I'm not too cool for anything.
Yeah.
And I have a really great life.
Yeah.
And I feel like I feel often the prayers of my grandmother, my mom's mom, who was
What was her name?
Joyce. I feel her prayers over my life on a regular basis. And I think, when I start a show or we're with Lonnie, right? We had a moment before we walked out and we prayed about just being able to be what was necessary in the moment, to be a reflection of the light and love that has been shown to us in our lives. And I believe that is,
Wow.
those might have been words that my grandmother uttered as she was holding me, as she was dying. I was being born. And so I think people feel that.
Yeah.
And so that's not really me.
Yeah.
That's not really me.
Yeah, but you're the vessel.
And I'll be
It's
that.
coming through you.
I'll be that. But I can't explain that.
Yeah, Scott, let me ask you a question.
Woo, got me in here emotional on a Monday. Jesus, be a fence.
Knowing the background that she was making her transition as you were making your transition, here she was going on, moving on.
Yeah.
What would you say to Joyce if she were sitting here where I'm sitting about your journey?
That's easy. Thank you. I love you. And you were right. You were right. I am keenly aware that the words great, that the words impactful, that the words determined, loving, were all a part of her prayer. Success was a part of that, but it was not success didn't mean the thing that it meant. You know what I mean? It didn't maybe
Didn't
for
mean
her,
stuff.
It didn't mean stuff.
Yeah.
It meant a life full of purpose
Yeah.
and on purpose.
Yeah.
And so I intend to do that
Yes, sir.
every day. And I honestly, I would say thank you, for raising my mom and her family the way that she did. I would say and I feel you. Yeah.
I feel her too.
Right
In
now.
this moment. Like right in this moment.
Yeah, it's crazy. But it's also not crazy because I
Yeah.
feel it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love her.
Yeah. And she loves you.
Real talk. Real talk. Ooh-wee. Baby. It's real, ain't it?
Yeah. In part because my great grandmother was transitioning as I was born. She waited.
Wow.
She held me. And a few days later, she said she had been waiting. She had cancer. And she said that she had been waiting on my birth.
Whoa.
And she said people all over the world are going to know him. And she was waiting. And my mother told me that when I was about 12 or 13. And I never knew that, but I always felt pushed and
Lifted.
Lifted.
Protected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I relate to that story. We got to talk another time.
Baby, anytime.
Yeah. We're going to talk another time. Access Hollywood. It's been a decade.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Taylor Swift kind of was a part of that trajectory.
Yeah, truly.
And 20-minute conversation, and look.
Here we are.
Look at you. We're so proud of you.
Thank you.
Some of your favorite interviews. Just if you had to name your three favorite.
Anything with Rihanna. Anything.
Okay.
Literally anything. We cut up so tough. I also would say David Allen Greer. We had a moment on the carpet for the color purple. And I said to him,
I'm already laughing.
right?
You know.
And he got emotional with me as he was recounting a conversation that he'd had with someone who was doing their best to love on him. I believe we've posted it to YouTube. It is definitely worth a watch. But it was one of those moments where you see someone who in the moment drops in. You know, there's so much that's always happening that you get to kind of stand back away from it and kind of just watch it. But every once in a while, much like we just did in this interview here, you have situations that call you into to literally drop in, and you fall into alignment with those who come before you and those who are on their way. You know, you fall into that line, and it's like a I don't know how to explain it, but it feels almost like your body is vibrating, like a frequency.
It's an energy. It's like an energy. It's like you're plugged in to something.
Like you're plugged in, and so any of those moments, I love. I had an interaction with Will Smith, also very similar to that. But I will tell you, Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey both sowed seeds of belief in me and what I'm doing and what I wanted to do in such a way that helped me believe it before I really did.
Wow.
You know, you set a goal for yourself, you set an intention, or you set your eyes on something, and before you really believe it, you sometimes, try to talk yourself out of it, or like, oh, why'd I put that on my vision board, or that kind of thing.
Kind of self-sabotage.
Anything to procrastinate and to separate you from that.
And that's where they come in to get you back on track.
Oprah Winfrey I wrote myself a check for $1 million that I wanted to be able to cash in honor and in alignment with something that I'd seen that she had done on Ellen, right? She talked about walking into the bank with a check for $1 million and wanting to cash it because she didn't know what that would feel like. And wanted to know what happens when you walk into a check for your account for $1 million and say, I'd like this, please. What does the bank do? The story is hilarious. You have to go online and watch it if you've never seen it. But so she invited me to this brunch at her home in Montecito, in Montecito. The property is called the Promised Land. Just get into that.
Yeah, I get it.
You know what I mean? The Promised Land.
Yeah.
So she originally was going to call it Terra 2 as a homage to Gone with the Wind. And then she said she was standing outside on her balcony with a cup of coffee one day and looked out over the sea and said, Scarlett O'Hara could never. Why would I call it Terra 2? This is the Promised Land. So I say all that to say I show up to this brunch wanting to believe something from my own life, wanting something different from my own life, wanting something more. So I wrote myself this $1 million check, and I asked her to see it, to look at it, and to believe along with me that if there's anybody on this planet who's the grandmother who raised her, whose idea that the highest good in her life could be that she would be able to get she would be hired by some good white folk to clean their home. That was the highest vision for her life. And that if Oprah could say, that ain't gonna be my life. I love you, but that ain't gonna be my life. I wanted that energy, right, to harness some of that. So I show her the check, and she stops everything that's going on, and she says, I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited for you because it's going to happen. But I want to know, do you want to make $1 million or do you want to take home $1 million? Do you want to be able to cash this $1 million check or do you want to make $1 million? Because that's a different check. I said, well, I want to take it home. She said, okay, so you need to, she said, don't rip it up, but tuck this away somewhere, write void on it, tuck this away somewhere, and you need a check for $1,335,000.
Wow, she knew. She knew.
Because after taxes.
$335,000, yes, sir. Yeah.
I said,
she knew.
It would take a billionaire to be able to tell you how much you got to write a check for if you want $1 million.
Yeah.
And every time I saw her after that, she'd ask me, the first thing out of her mouth after Scott, right? It was
sounded just like her.
Scott.
I saw her when you said that.
Yeah,
like,
right?
I saw her. Yeah.
She would ask me, where are we with the check?
Yeah.
Are you closer to the check? And so we were at the Toronto Film Festival, and she was celebrating the release of the Sidney Poitier doc on Apple TV, and I took her shots of tequila, and I didn't even have to say anything. I didn't have to say anything. I walked up, poured the shot, and she said, "What do we sell? What?" She said, "It's the middle of the day. What are we taking shots for?" I said, "We're celebrating." She said, "Oh, you lying? Are you serious? Are you serious?"
Yeah.
And so, it was. I say all of that to say, I have been blessed with a lot of favorite moments.
Wow.
And those are just some of them.
That's beautiful.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the Our Culture, Our Stories podcast are those of the individual hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policies or positions of the NAACP or any affiliated organizations.